Whether you're a camel owner, wannabe camel owner, or simply an adoring camel fan, you're in the right place for some fun, useful, and interesting camel talk. This is the Camel Connection podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tara.
And I'm Russell. Join us here for fun learning about camels, how to care for, train, and handle them. Plus, insider stories and interviews.
And also some interesting stories of our lifestyle with camels, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the very funny.
Make sure you've subscribed now so you don't miss out on an episode.
Now, some of these podcasts are an audio take of our video, so be sure to check those out on our blog for lots of how-to visuals and, of course, lots of camels.
This is your one and only go-to podcast, all about camels.
Hey, it's Tara here. Welcome back to the Camel Connection podcast. So before we get into today's topic, we have a little something for you. Since we're new to this whole podcasting thing, we would love it if you could leave a review on our iTunes podcast. Why? Because it helps others understand what this podcast is all about, camels obviously, but they'll realize that they can gain value from it too. And in return, if we read out your review on an episode, only if it's positive, of course, we're not going to read out bad reviews, then we'll send a little something, camel related, of course, to you in the mail. Who doesn't love snail mail? So make sure you leave a review. And we can't wait to hear from you and send you something. So make sure you leave a review on our iTunes podcast page. You can search Camel Connection if you're not already listening on iTunes. So now today's topic, camel toys. Do they need them and are they dangerous? You know, like we all want to do the right thing by our animals, in this case, you know, our camels, but sometimes we lack the understanding of camel psychology, their way of thinking. This can do more harm than good when you lack this kind of understanding. The truth is that to gain a good understanding of a camel's psychology takes years of being around them, and there are no real solid studies to conclude a camel's way of thinking to help us camel owners understand them better. So this means a lot of trial and error will take place from camel husbandry, camel training, and camel handling. It's the truth. It's a sad one, but hey, we're doing the best we can with what we have. So this is not about, this episode isn't about judging others who may or may not give their camel toys to play with. This is about education on the way a camel thinks to help any potential problems or dangers manifest, whether that be now or in the future. You don't have to Google far to hear of pet camels killing their owners. It's very, very sad, but it's true. It does happen. The sadder part is that it's human error, and because of that lack of information and education about camels, it's a massive concern for us and a massive frustration for us as camel mentors to people, is that there is such this lack of information, and it feels like a big weight on our shoulders in some ways. We know there are other camel people out there willing to share the information, but there's not many, so you can understand that concern there. So we feel it's our duty as camel advocates and camel mentors to other camel owners to call out the warning signs and dangers of having, using, and camels playing with toys. So we'll break it down by the most common toys used and explain how a camel thinks towards these situations. So we'll put it sort of real life situation there. So have you seen or heard of, or you probably have seen, the large balls? I think they're also called, they're horse jolly balls. So they're these massive, big, what I would think of an exercise ball, but the horse ones are super tough, so they don't break. Well, if a large ball was to enter a camel's paddock, there's a couple of things that might happen. Number one, they'll never go near it as it's way too scary. Or two, they will go near it and start pushing it around, seeming like they are playing with it. And if possible, they'll try and get it into some part, like get this ball into a corner or some part of the paddock that will stop the ball so that they can try and sit on it. Again, this can seem really funny, but it's not. And if the ball doesn't stop, they will continually try to play with it so it will stop, so they can sit on it. And I know this sounds funny, and I've seen videos on social media of people filming their camels doing this, and it's really disturbing because we're going to get into why in a minute. So the scary part is that it's not funny because, once you know what the camel's actually thinking, you'll think twice about camel toys in the future. And I think as camel owners or camel lovers or whatever, we can advocate for the camel and its way of thinking. Not everyone's going to accept that fact, but hey, we can do the best we can. So what is a camel thinking when playing with these types of camel toys? In particular, we're talking about the jolly ball and the big exercise ball-like thing. The simple answer, they want to destroy and kill it. I know. The ball is foreign, it's scary and it's unnatural, and you definitely wouldn't find one of these in their natural environment. So the camel is fearing it. The camel is totally unsure about what it is. So the ball is like a predator and a threat that needs to be gone. We've also seen this with round hay bales. A camel will sit on it or try and put itself over the hay bale. Simply put, if a camel is sitting on anything other than the ground, it's scared. It's basically scared of it. Exclusion of the intact bull camels. This is a whole other topic. The reason a camel will keep pushing a ball around is that it's trying to intimidate the ball so it will stop and the camel can crush it by sitting on it. This is what they do to predators in the wild and to each other too in herds of camels. It's not so funny, is it? What if the ball was blue and a young child wearing blue came into a camel's paddock? You can see the danger signs in all of this. Big jolly balls / horse balls are simply a frustration to camels, and they do not support any of the camel's positive natural instincts. And we cover that in another episode, which is not far below this one actually, about how to nurture a camel's natural instincts. So you can check that one out too after finishing this one. So for us, we certainly don't want to nurture this kind of instinct in a camel, basically destroy and kill. And I'm sure a lot of other owners out there don't want, I can't imagine anybody would want that actually. So, okay, so the next kind of camel toy that has been going around the traps is the treat toys or the treat balls. So these reward-based balls or shapes are supposed to keep an animal entertained in their domestic environment. So when you think about the psychology of treat balls for a cat, dog, or even a horse, this can make complete sense because cats and dogs are hunters and horses are grazers, and they actually use their hooves and muzzle to reveal herbs and grasses in their natural environment. For a camel, it's just frustrating. So what else can we offer our camels for stimulation? So you can offer things like trees and shrub branches that are safe for the camel to eat and hang them above their head level so that they have to reach for it, which is very much in their natural instinct. We spoke more about this in episode number 10 about 3 ways to nurture a camel's natural instinct. So make sure you check that out because it sort of goes into more detail about that. But we're sort of specifically honing in on the camel toys here. But episode number 10 will definitely give you some more tips if you feel like your camel needs more stimulation. So, although it's not a toy, we're going to talk a little bit about salt blocks because they can actually keep a camel entertained, but it comes at a cost and with warnings. Have you ever seen a camel trying to eat a salt block? They will actually spend quite a while playing with the block, trying to bite off chunks of salt. They will toss it and turn it. They would toss and turn the block trying to get their daily requirements of salt. They're doing this because camels need a lot of salt in their diet. They can eat up to 1 kilo of salt per day, so sometimes even more depending on what the camel needs. So you can imagine how frustrating it is for a camel to try and eat a salt block just to get their daily requirements. They might be entertained for almost all the day, but we have some warnings with this. So there are 2 factors here that make it really frustrating for a camel to eat a salt block, and dangerous, I should say, as well. They don't have a long enough tongue to lick it. Camels actually have short tongues. I know when I first met camels, like, oh, they're kind of like a giraffe. They have really long tongue. They don't. So they don't have long enough tongues to actually lick the salt block like a horse or a cow would be able to. And number 2, since the tongue doesn't work for them, they will actually use their teeth, which is hence the biting and playing with the salt block, which will result in premature loss of teeth from constant grinding. And I've seen this in camels, so it is a real thing. So what do you do instead? So we recommend using 100% pure loose salt. You can usually get this from pool shops actually, but you've got to make sure that it's pure salt, not with any additives or chlorines or anything like that. It's straight salt. And leave a bucket, leave the salt in a bucket. Either the bucket should have a heavy bottom or tied to a fence post so the camel can't knock it over and just spill it all out, which they will because they like playing with buckets. So you're leaving the loose salt in this bucket so the camel can help itself at free will. We fill up our salt bucket, 3 or 4 times a week. The camels just go through it really quickly. Mind you, we've got 18 camels, but it goes to show they really do eat a lot of salt. So depending on the camel's needs, some camels may eat more than others, and that's why it's important that salt isn't hand-fed, as each camel's ratio varies depending on what they're eating, what they're drinking, and their general well-being. Sometimes we've had camels come from other properties and for a good month solid they just eat and eat and eat salt. So they're amazing. As we know, camels can actually stock up on their minerals and their water and their feed requirements. So that's it. That's what we have for you today about camel toys. If you have something that really stood out for you, or you've got a comment for us, or you want to share an insight, make sure you head over to our Australian Camels blog. You'll find that at australiancamels.com/blog, and leave a comment for us. We love interacting with the rest of the community and would love to hear from you. So that's it for today, and we're looking forward to seeing you, kind of not really seeing you. Hearing you, we're not hearing you either. You'll hear from us on the next episode. Hey, did you get value from this or have any questions for us? Head over to our Australian Camels blog to ask your questions or to leave a comment. While you're there, sign up to our email list so you never miss these types of videos, other camel-related blogs, and also special announcements and information which we don't share anywhere else. Once you've signed up, you'll get access to our free camel training videos, information ebooks and MP3s. So head over to australiancamels.com now to get your goodies.